This panel is on artificial intelligence. Never done anything like this before, and I try to do new things every year. So I want to introduce Amol from Patient Prism here. Amol's a very, very good friend of mine. He's a CPA. I don't think, just like I didn't go to law school to be the dental guy, I don't think Amol thought, as a CPA, he was going to be doing artificial intelligence, but he is. And it's really advanced call tracking software. I think it adds a lot of value from what I have seen, but we're going to put it to the test. We're going to come out here and do a little demonstration. So, Amol, come on out here, please. Whatever. This is a family-oriented program, so let's try what we can. But do we sit down, or are you going to stand?
I can stand a little bit.
All right. Is the Terminator coming out? Do we have
no Terminator coming out.
What about the one with the liquid skin that they tried to kill and it kept coming back to life?
They're not coming out.
Okay.
No robots. No robots. We tried one. They were very expensive to rent, and you had to ship them all the way from Europe. So we're going to talk about the role of AI in patient experience. And what I'm really passionate about and what I'm excited about is how AI is transforming our lives today. And transforming our lives not in the way that Brian thinks of those Terminator movies and the robots running around and doing stuff. What they're doing is it really, AI is impacting the way we act and we behave, and it's changing our behaviors. Whether we know it or not, AI is changing the way we think. It is the most transformative technology that humankind has ever invented. It's going to change the way we drive in a few years. It's going to change the way we interact with each other. It's going to change the way we interact with patients. It's going to change the way we have relationships, believe it or not. And as you watch, I'm going to play a video next. It's by the CEO of Google. And it talks about the impact. And as you watch this video, I want you to think about what this would mean for your dental support organization. What this looks like. Imagine a situation like this. So take a listen. This is Google CEO Sundar Pichai a few months ago launching a technology called Google Duplex. And
we want to connect users to businesses in a good way. Businesses actually rely a lot on this, but even in the US, 60% of small businesses don't have an online booking system set up. We think AI can help with this problem. So let's go back to this example. Let's say you want to ask Google to make you a haircut appointment on Tuesday between 10 and noon. What happens is the Google Assistant makes the call seamlessly in the background for you. So what you're going to hear is the Google Assistant actually calling a real salon to schedule the appointment for you. Let's listen.
How can I help you? Hi, I'm calling to book a woman's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second. Sure, what time are you looking for around? At 12 p.m. We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15. Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.? Depending on what service she would like, what service is she looking for? Just a woman's haircut for now? Okay, we have at 10 o'clock. 10 a.m. is fine. Okay, what's your first name? The first name is Lisa. Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd. Okay, great. Thanks, great. Have a great day. Bye.
so what do you think about this, right? I mean, the technology...
Is the Terminator coming?
The Terminator is not coming, right?
That's me what I thought about it.
But what I think is coming, is a virtual receptionist, right? I don't know who builds that, whether we do it or somebody else. But in the next 5 years, if you think a lot of the virtual assistants are not able to handle these functions, you're going to be surprised, right? So AI today, as we use AI, that technology is there today, but we're not using it. The way we're using AI today is almost subtle.
I read this book that there was this evil computer that took over the world, but the point, and it was really entertaining, but it was launching nuclear attacks and things, but the point was that intelligent computer could harness billions and billions of brains and almost predict the future because of that. And I think in looking a little bit about what you're doing seriously, isn't it predictive of human conduct? You know,
It is very predictive, and Yuval Harari wrote this amazing book called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, and he talks about AI hacking the human brain,
right,
which is kind of scary, right? Hacking the human brain. And what he meant by that is that could AI really influence the way we change, how we think about things, the way we behave, right? So as I was preparing for this presentation, and this is, if you can't see it, I'll explain what that Facebook ad is. I was preparing for this presentation, Facebook showed me an ad, and the ad says, there's a middle-aged man like me, who's I think a little heavier than I am, I think he is. It says, study says men who can do 10 push-ups are at a greater risk of heart disease. And I literally got out of my chair, I looked at my life, what I do, and I travel and eat at all
can
these
you do
things.
10 push-ups?
And I try. I cannot. I tried, and I'm not gonna fail on stage here. But we, and I literally got out of my shoes. I tried to do 10 push-ups. I couldn't, right? And it got me thinking about what my lifestyle is, right? What am I doing? Am I eating well? Am I exercising? And why am I gonna have a heart attack in the next few years? Which this indicates that I might. So what AI did, what Facebook AI did, there was no person at Facebook that knew to tell me to send me that message. They had no idea. But based on all my social media posts that you see all the time everywhere, it figured out that I'm sitting somewhere posting all that stuff all the time. Right? So it knew I was kind of lazy in terms of exercising. And it figured out, it motivated me to at least go to the gym for the next few days, and then it stopped again. Right?
We got some room here for some push-ups.
Well, I'm good. I can't compete with the Olympic wrestler, so I'm not going to do that. But Amazon, right? Amazon uses AI so differently. Their recommendation engine, right? When you buy, we all buy stuff from Amazon, and every time we buy something, it recommends that we should buy something else with it too. And how many people have actually bought something based on those recommendations, right? A lot of us have. You know what? If you were to guess the revenue Amazon made just from their recommendation engine last year, if anybody would guess, it's $80 billion. Almost 40% of their revenue. So imagine, this is the power of AI. It allowed Amazon to harness what we might want, and it hacked our brain. Amazon's AI hacked our brain to behave in a way that made Amazon and Jeff Bezos the richest man on the planet. That is what's happening, right? At the end of the day, we have to think about AI in terms of how it's going to change the way we act and the way we behave. Not playing with a robot.
Okay, so the Terminator's not coming out right now.
Not at the moment.
All right. Okay, so you said some of this stuff is in use right now, and is that what you're...
Yeah, it is news. In dentistry, it's news. Like you guys all do, you have marketing, you have SEO. Google uses a very sophisticated algorithm based on your reputation, based on your page score, based on the content, the length of your reviews. It looks at 70 different things to rank you on the top of the page, at the bottom of the page, or not even on the first page, right? It's already been used in dentistry.
Now, my understanding is the way you're using this right now is one of the problems that everybody has that's trying to scale up and have group practices is training the people that answer the phones. And you can tape record, and if you do tape record, you got to follow the call warning statute and say this call may be monitored for quality assurance and all that other stuff. And assuming you do that, some poor person's got to go listen to like the recording for training purposes, and that could take hours.
Oh, absolutely.
But you have a system where, if I understand correctly, the AI is going to listen to the calls for you and give you feedback.
Yeah, so we're going to get to that, right? We're going to get to that. I just want to tell you why AI matters today. And this is a great quote from a chief economist at Google. And he said, a billion hours ago, the modern Homo sapiens emerged. A billion minutes ago, Christianity began. A billion seconds ago, the IBM PC was released, and about a billion Google searches ago was this morning. Right? What AI is flourishing today because the abundance of data that exists today for us to crunch. And that really allows us to make a lot of inferences. I'm going to go into AI in terms of what it means, and we're going to go into a live example, not a live example, it's a recorded example of a patient named Brian who calls the dental office to make an appointment. And we're going to show what AI does in a short period of time to try to make us understand what happened in that call and see if we could do something about that. But as it stands today, AI is really data science. It's a combination of math, computer science, and business domain knowledge. And what it does, it uses all the data in conjunction with all the things it knows about an industry, and it makes inferences about what happened, right? So there's a patient named Brian who decides to call a dental office, and as you see, what you're going to see is our platform that really analyzes the anatomy of this call and then visualizes all the problems in red.
Without a human being having to listen to it.
Well, the human being doesn't listen to the call, but the human being kind of puts some interesting comments about that. What the AI does here is it helps the human being understand the context, the problems, the areas in the call. So if you see a big red area, it means something bad happened. If you see a yellow area, which means there is a tip. As you watch this, you may not be able to see the tips on top, but this is an alert. So Brian, the patient, calls an office, and this is what happens.
Thanks for calling Mr. Kravitz. How can I help you?
Hi, do you do dental implants?
Yeah, we can do dental implants, but sometimes we have to refer out. Most likely we'll do everything in-house. Please hold.
Hold? I was just put on hold. Hello? People all over the country call me to form DSOs, and I never put them on hold. I don't have time to hold. I have to form DSOs.
Sorry about that. How can I help you?
I'm calling because I'm interested in dental implants.
Yes, we do dental implants. Can I have your name?
Well, I'm just trying to understand how much it'll cost.
Oh, it's very expensive. It's like $6,000.
Wow, that doesn't sound good. That's a lot of money.
I know, but they last a long time.
Well, what's involved? Is it difficult to get an implant?
You can read more about them on our website. Really quickly, it's basically a screw that the doctor will place where there's a hole in your mouth, and then they'll place a fake tooth on top of it.
That sounds like it hurts.
People mostly complain that they feel a lot of pressure and are annoyed, but they don't really say that it's painful or anything. Do you want to book an appointment, or do you want to think about it and call me back?
Well, do you have anything tomorrow?
No, but we can get you in next week. We have a lot of openings next week.
I'm going to have to think about it. In fact, I might call a few other places.
Okay, have a good day.
All right, bye.
Bye.
So this is what happens, right? And in this scenario, if I had $1 for every time this happens every day, we listen to over 15,000 calls a day, and this happens more often than you know. Right? And then the ability, so what happens? What happens in this situation is that alert that you guys saw, this is the alert that we're able to send out within 35 to 45 minutes, alerting a practice that Brian called, he wanted to spend $6,000, and let's call him back. Right? And that results in a whole host of things at the DSO level, the call center level, at the practice level.
There's also a red indicator, things that didn't go
right. The big red indicator meant that the patient was unhappy. They were put on hold right away. Right? And there are so many things. We look at 17 different variables. Because what we want to make sure is that this feedback that we're collecting from interaction with you goes back to the office. So you can actually change behaviors. Again, from an AI changing behaviors. So what we do is really use the technologies that Google and Amazon are democratizing in natural language processing, pattern matching, and neural networks to really understand the nuance and the context of the conversation so that we know quickly. Speed is the key, right? If you get the same alert a day later or 48 hours later, you can't do anything about it. So then, usually I'm not going to play this next call because I want to end on time, but what happens is a call happens from the call center or the receptionist back to the patient saying, by the way, we're sorry. We forgot to mention that we have one of the best doctors in the country. We have placed over 5,000 implants. We use this amazing system to place dental implants, and we can make it affordable too, even if you don't have dental insurance. So all of a sudden, we are now changing behaviors by knowing that a failure happened on the phone an hour ago, 45 minutes ago. We're able to take on, and I'm going to play part of this call because it's funny, just because I want to hear Brian's voice. And he did
I'm going to do some push-ups for you.
Yes, this is Brian.
Hi, Brian. My name is Al Marie. You talked to my colleague here at Super Happy Smiles earlier today. And she
Yeah,
told
she
me
put me
that
on hold.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I'm so
Are you going to put me on hold?
No, sir, not at all. She actually told me that you had some questions about getting a dental implant.
So what happened was, this call went by, Brian, the patient, decided to come back, right? Said he felt completely wowed and surprised that a healthcare provider cared enough to call him back. And these are the type of patients, when they do come back, they become lifelong patients because they will tell everybody that, oh my God, Brian's gonna go tell everybody, every lawyer at DICOM is gonna know that this dentist actually cared enough to call me, and now I'm gonna refer friends and family. So that $6,000 opportunity that was initially lost on that first call, and because we were able to analyze that very quickly, converted from a no to a yes within hours. And we're hoping, as we evolve technology over the next year or so, it's going to get to 30 minutes. Hopefully it'll get to real time one day. And we'll be able to coach our team members in real time on what they should be saying.
I mean, it sounds like the takeaway for me is if a call doesn't go well, first of all, you have somebody else that will take the time to listen to these calls and red flag things so you know if there's a problem with the person answering the phone almost in real time. And then not in addition to just knowing that you have somebody that needs some more training or coaching, you can take some real-time action to correct the problem.
Exactly right. Any software program that you guys decide to employ at your organization, right? At the end of the day, if we're not going to use any of those metrics to change behavior of anybody in the organization, might as well not have it, right? And we're able, that's the key, right? Some of the things we do in our organization is we look at things like, what new services could you offer? Could AI listen to the speech and recognize that, oh my God, we had 19 people who had diabetes who called us who were in pain and were not able to get in, or things like how many people who were looking for Invisalign were not able to get in the last month. Right? So things like that. When you go deep into data and when you have an unlimited capacity to comprehend and crunch it, you can extract insights that a human being could never do. Right? Human being could never do. Are you open to seeing patients, right? On Saturdays or Friday nights? That's what really data-driven optimization means. It's really using data and converting that into a weapon and weaponizing it to kind of change behaviors with your team members and your patients to kind of get you the results you want. Amazon's doing it, you guys can absolutely do it all day long.
No, I mean, it's really interesting, and I think part of the concept is it can sort of predict, similar to what Amazon did with, here's other recommended books for you. It can sort of predict what's going to have a favorable outcome with the patient and steer it in that direction. It sounds like the speed times are getting quicker.
The fictional book you read,
and Terminators.
the fictional book you read, surprisingly, has given you more education about AI than most people who read nonfiction, right? It really is about prediction. So you had asked me to put a slide here about an application for AI in a different aspect of dentistry at the DSO level. And one of the big things that I hear from practices all over the country is, how do we reduce no-shows? And could we really use AI to build a model that will allow us to predict what patients are going to not show up for their appointment?
I asked you for a slide of the Terminator, but you put the no-show slide.
This is sexier because we're actually working on this with a large DSO based in the country to say that if no shows are going to wreak havoc on our schedule and all we do is double book, that's not a good strategy, right? If I can have a list of the patients with the probability of these are the patients that have a 30% chance of showing up, I can do two things. One, I can design an intervention to make sure that they show up, right? And if they don't, then I can double book appropriately. But imagine the impact on your top and bottom line when you can reduce your no-show rate to less than 2% from whatever it is, right? And it's a big issue, right? It's absolutely doable. Actually, our chief data officer, who came to us from MIT, did this exact study, did this exact model in healthcare, and they were able to predict which mammogram appointments, which ladies would not show up for the mammogram appointment, and they were able to design interventions to make sure that they showed up. So what happened as a result of AI, it made sure that the schedules were full and the doctors made money. But more importantly than that, what this did is it promoted better health, right? At the end of the day, when patients come to us at dental offices, we're impacting their lives, and we want them to show up at the door. And that really is the power of good AI.
I've looked, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I've looked at some of the spreadsheets and some of the information for some clients. This is pretty reasonably priced, relatively speaking. I mean, for what it is, we don't have to go through prices on here, but it's not as expensive as you would think. It seemed pretty reasonable when I looked at it. Is that not correct?
And the cost of AI is reducing, right? As you go, the cost of prediction is reducing. Moore's law is still in effect. As we go along the journey, it becomes cheaper and cheaper and cheaper for us to crunch data and make inferences. Brian, if somebody would have told me 3 years ago that I'd be the inventor of 3 patents, I would have literally laughed at them and saying that I'm a CPA, we're an accountant. We don't invent stuff. We just look at past information. It's so nice to be able to live in the future. Bezos talked about a few months ago, he made a bold statement about if they want to really thrive and succeed in the next 20 years or next 5 years, they need to really learn to lean into the future. Because McKinsey said last week that companies that will lean into the future will have a 20% better cash flow than companies who don't. And the guys who do adopt this technology sooner than later are going to see an immediate impact. The impact is quite immediate.
So this would attach to call center or anybody that answers the phone is sort of the moral of this. And once you've established that and you order a subscription, you're sort of ready to go. Just before we're almost out of time, but you've told me that you've had some clients that have had immediate returns the first week or two.
First day, sometimes the first day. The importance of the patient journey as they go through your life cycle, from the time they find you to the time they check out and pay you, that every single handoff that happens in that patient journey is so important to be optimized. And if you don't optimize that, that's what results in these failures that happen, right? Either the patient doesn't like your site, they don't call you. If they call you, they don't like the receptionist, they don't go forward. If they come in, the receptionist is rude, they don't want to do anything with you. And it goes back. So really, it is part and parcel of mapping out, and Ritz-Carlton did that, Apple did that. They really mapped out the journey of their customer. And I encourage you guys at your DSO levels, and some of you guys have already done that, is to really map that journey and see where the holes are. This is a big hole at the top of the funnel that we are able to use this artificial intelligence to really change behavior. And that's really the impact that AI is going to make on our businesses and our lives over the next future.
Well, it would have been more interesting if the Terminator came out, but I can tell you, that was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. This is really good stuff. I think this is the wave of the future. Before we get off stage, Patient Prism at your booth, you got a recording studio, right? So if people want to come and record some content of their own to sort of support their own business without any obligation, they can come over and they can just do that, right?
We have a great page. We have a studio right here across, and if you are a vendor, whether you're a speaker, whether you're a consultant, whether you're a DSO, you want to get your message out there to thousands and thousands of audience members that we have modeled on Facebook. Come on by, visit us. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the future, and we'll talk about what your goals are over the next few years.
Thanks, Amol. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.